Hello and welcome, all my attentive viewers, to the Anthropocene Review, a podcast where we review the human-centered planet on a 1 to 5 star scale. I'm your host Magnus, and today we will be exploring Minions. Most of you know about Minions, whether it is through the Minion movies or the Minion memes. But either way, a once small and inconspicuous yellow figure is now what, if you ask me, one of the most popular figures on the planet. Today we'll be talking about the Minions and the story behind them. Now, to start off, I'll be talking about their love for bananas and finding an evil master. Never meaning to cause harm, but always, somehow, always causing destruction along the way. I struggle to think of any other character who appealed to so many people across the world. There are none though, that's the thing. Minions shine through the crowds as something that is unique. Students across the world gripping onto Minions, perhaps through the memes or through the pictures, but in a way which I don't think we can see in any other character. Now, lots of you probably have experiences with Minions yourself and a personal story to tell, which I would love to hear. If you feel like it, you can leave it in the comments just down below, and I will be sure to check on it a bit later. It could have been, something with a meme, or how it made you feel or something, or an item you once got as a Minion, because, Minions are very popular, children all around the world have them. When I was a child, actually, I had at one point a Minion lunchbox, a Minion water bottle, a pencil case with a Minion on it, like all these different things. I mean, there aren't other characters which are like these, and so today I want to explore why that is, what makes Minions so unique, so amazing the way that they are. But I just find it crazy to think about how there was once Pierre Collins drew a yellow figure on a piece of paper, and that just created the most popular character or group of species or whatever in existence today. And how people can share such an attachment to something so different and not like us at all, and not, well, that's what people think, but if I were to tell you that there were a deeper meaning behind the Minions, most of you wouldn't believe me. Most of you would just look away in shock. But behind the cute, hard-working, innocent, banana-loving creatures which we see on the internet today, there is something much, much deeper. Minions aren't a new concept Pierre Collins thought up when he was thinking about new characters, right? We all know this. But a new idea to reflect the 19th century. It is not a new idea that workers in mass numbers dedicate their time, energy and souls to their bosses and do anything for them just to try and deliver the best outcome for the workplace and all. But this is something that has been happening for hundreds of years in the past already. But the true value in the Minions is that they don't stay as factory workers, as humans. We were once factory workers. Your great-grandparents, my great-grandparents, they might have been the people working in the factories, producing the goods which industrialised the West and made us get so advanced, and now we don't have to, right? So great big thanks to them all. But the Minions evolved in a similar way to the way the humans did. Because if you think about it, we were in caves, weren't we? We were in factories. We were, then watching factory work be done, and I'll cover on that quite a lot later, It is a lot to take in, I know. Lots of you might not get what I'm on about yet, but I will carry on explaining it, and hopefully you will do understand by the end. But I think you're all getting the point which I'm trying to explain. Minions are not just a made-up, different character. They are not just different from humans, but they are like humans. Minions are the exact metaphor for the Anthropocene itself, only they are not shaped by one single man or one single villain, but by mass amounts of ordinary people. In the Minions, imagine what they could have gotten done if there was just Kevin and Bob. What could they have built? what I want you to think about today. Now anyway, this may sound like a lot of confusion, and so I want to take it nice and steady so you will understand and have a firm grip of what I'm trying to spread to you. If any of you remember the first movie of the Minions, well I do, I'm not sure about whether you do, we can see the Minions in caves and searching for a master, right, to lead them, working together for survival. I remember this one, I'm not sure whether you lot remember it or not. We've seen the Minions with dinosaurs, right, and like that silly moment where that ball rolled and there was a dinosaur on top and he fell off the edge. Like, we all know humans haven't been around during the dinosaur times. If you would have ever read your history textbook, you would have found that as one of the crucial starting points in the textbook. I mean, but obviously, we weren't around then, and we evolved to what we are today during those times and those over a long period of time. It's what we call evolution, and we were always told we evolved from monkeys to humans, but maybe they are lying. Perhaps Pierre Collins was just giving us a glimpse of the past. Perhaps Minions are the descendants. What if we all evolved from Minions? What if Minions are just us a million odd years ago, which didn't evolve? But who knows? Maybe he was just leaking some information to us, which most of us didn't know. But anyway, now, getting back to task. Minions travelled from these hunting-gatherers, which worked together to get food for basic survival, to people living in caves for survival. That was us about 100,000 years ago. And then later to cities and working in factories and getting into factory work. Well, it's quite a lot to happen for just a few movies, if you ask me. But anyway, you see what they were trying to say, and they said it quite quick, really. This reflects a similar evolution to one of how humans evolved, but I mentioned this a bit earlier. If any of you would have read your history textbook, you would have remembered a chapter on factory work and industrialization, which I mentioned earlier. And then the later episodes, you can see a clear switch between hands-on building stuff or glue, like when they had to build that spaceship and all, they were always carrying the goods there and, holding their back and all. Well, they wouldn't be showing that because it's a child film, but that's probably what they were feeling. It's just they didn't show that to us. And then later to watching and having the oversight of the products being built, when there was the machines, picking up bananas and placing them there, and they were just there watching it, right? So that's basically what happened to humans today in the West, especially. I mean, we don't really have these, to the same extent, factory work. We don't really have the same effort and hard work, the employees and all the sweats and tears that people need to put in to produce the same outcome. We don't really need that because we have the advantage that we now have proper technology. We have proper things to make this all happen successfully. But today we call those hard-working factory people the exploited class, when you were fully reliant on your boss. And if you don't have an employment back then, you couldn't feed your family, you couldn't sustain your family. People might have starved, in the extreme cases. So they were dedicated to their boss, and they always had to try their best. Well, luckily you and I grow up in a world where we don't need to work our backs off to afford to live. Today, we are like Minions in the later films, like when they were overseeing the factory work, when they were chilling, quite an easy, quite fun life. But I'm not saying employees don't work hard today, it's just not the same scale, is it? We don't put in the same blood, sweat and tears as they did back then. Each one of the Minions made a small change, but together they make a big impact. There's basically life lessons for you all, and for the younger audiences. Together, we are small people. United, we are a big people. I just came up with that just now. But with lots of workers, bosses are able to achieve anything. Right, we've seen that in the Minion films, when they had hundreds of minions. I'm not sure whether they were actually hundreds of them. But you could clearly see there was quite a big scale amount of them, weren't there? And I was quite astonished based on how many Minions there were, weren't I? I bet you were also. And they were able to achieve great things. They were able to capture the moon. Of course, bosses couldn't do it in the past, and they can't do it today. But it's the Minions film. It was a bit twisted to make it more appealing for their audiences. But you get the point. You're able to achieve great things. Imagine having so much power. Right? What will you do? I'm eager to find out what my audiences will do if they had so much power, if they could do so many things. Minions are cute and silly, small but many. Minions are a reality just like the one which shaped us all. The ordinary man always causes the biggest impact of them all. As long as there are workers, bosses have power. That is the lesson for those bosses around the world, and nowadays with the lower birth rates and less workers being born, of course, and then which means in the long run there are less workers. You can see the effect is happening on the bosses, the less power they're having, right? But in the Minions there were lots of them, lots of minions, and so they had lots of power. In the Minions movie, they penalised Gribble, showed him as not doing too well when he didn't have any of his minions because they all were captured by that chicken owner lad in that Mexican restaurant or whatever that was. Minions aren't just characters, they reflect us all. Billions of tiny people doing whatever our boss tells us to do and accidentally shaping the world around us. Beyond the design, it cleverly reflects humans in a way which makes children feel it and enjoy it. Minions reflect our past in a way which shines through our children, giving children the idea that even if they are small, they can have a big impact. Perhaps they are only made-up characters, yet they show something much bigger, something that can't be shown through words to our children, only through pictures and movies. We don't know what Pierre Coffins was thinking, of course we don't, but what we sure do know is that he was a genius, inventing a species that would inspire our children today, capturing their energy and love, even without the meaning behind this. Minions are an invention which we all should cherish and enjoy. As a child, I lived with my Minion toys without knowing the truth behind them, and I believe children today can and should as well. So today I do not ask you to debate or question the intention behind the Minions and what Pierre Collins was thinking, but to cherish the thought of small, silly yellow things working hard for their boss and looking for bananas. Minions should be a thought that is cherished today, and the fact that Minions do exist today for you and I to enjoy. I rate Minions 5 stars.